No matter what kind of project you have around the shop, if you're looking for some tips and some help, it's time for Sam's Garage, presented by ARP with Master Mechanic Sam Mamolo.
Hey, welcome to Sam's Garage. Well, I'm doing a little work on my new Silvarado here. You know, I put a lot of miles on that diesel dually and I had some big trailers. I don't have big trailers anymore, so I bought this 1500 four-wheel drive LTZ. It's a nice truck. Rides like a Cadillac, but it's really softly suspended. When I hook a trailer up, it dives in the rear. Headlights are shining on the people coming the other way. So I want to fix that up. So what we're going to do and install today is a nice air suspension system from Hellwig. Set of airbags in here. That way I'll be able to inflate them, pick the back of the truck up when I've got tongue weight on it. Headlight alignment will be good, the truck will handle better, the trailer will be right. So the first step they had me do was, here's the airbag itself. Step-by-step instructions, there's a couple of fittings you screw in here. They already have sealer on them, and it's an approximate, about 20 foot-pounds of torque. Next thing it says to do, right by the instructions, right here we got a bump stop. Now this bump stop, if you don't know what a bump stop is, it's usually rubber, it's some kind of a material that if the spring goes to its full travel, this will hit the axle, and you'll know when you're bottoming out. If you can touch your bump stops there, you got way too much weight in the truck. But I'm going to remove that because that's where one of the brackets is going to go. The instructions are pretty explicit. It says it takes a 10mm socket, go right up inside here. Fix this. Got a good long bolt. So we take off our bump stop. I'll save those. And the next thing it wants you to do is put this bracket on. And it's got a flathead screw. These are metric. And of course it's about 40mm long, a little over an inch. And you have to orient it this way, facing in. This will go right back in here. And you want to start things by hand, that way you don't cross thread them. And of course it's a nice tapered seat with a flathead screw. All we need to do is tighten this up. And then if you look at the instructions, they tell you to torque this to 40 foot-pounds of torque. So first thing I'll do is I'll get it up here where it belongs. I'll orient it right. And you know, the instructions, these guys at Hellwig have spent a lot of time engineering this out. You want to make sure that you get it just right and follow the torque specs. All right, put that on my torque wrench. I'll torque this to 40 foot-pounds of torque, then I'll do the other side. Okay, following the instructions step by step. They're well written, they give you great pictures. We've got 4 studs, 2 long ones and 2 short ones per plate. The short ones go on the short side here, the tall ones go out here. They give you some thread locker in the kit. I just happen to have a bottle that I use. This is blue thread locker, it's a medium. Once it sets, those things will stay there, but you don't want to use the red stuff because it'll never come apart. Anyway, if you get a little powder coating in the thread or the studs have a little burr on them, get a couple of nuts. Do not grab the stud with a pair of pliers and bugger up your threads. Just double nut it, run the stud down, and the stud's just going to be level with the bottom of the plate. Stick your finger under the airbag, that turns the stud right in. Actually pretty easy. So that's a good little tip. That way you're not grabbing a pair of channel locks or vice grips and then you mess up your studs. All right, once we do that, you can see this bag here, I've already put, this has a heat shield. It's going to go on the passenger side where the exhaust pipe comes through. A nice little touch. Then there's a piece that goes on the bottom. You can see we orient it so you can see the hole. And we got carriage bolts. And we'll tighten those up. So this part's done. We'll flip it over. Again, following the instructions. And we have, this guy goes like that. You can see the orientation. You have to put the carriage bolts in next, because in carriage bolts, if you're not familiar with the term, they have squares on them under the head, and those squares go right in there. You want to line those up. You might give it a little tap. Once they're lined up, that way they don't turn. They become like a captured bolt. Do that. You want to put this in here. You want to see these two bolts through that window. Got a little countersunk flathead screw, and put that in there and torque it down. Okay, now what's going to happen here is this is going to sit up like so, and then there's going to be a bracket that's going to go on here like this, and the frame rail is going to be right here. This is a stabilizer bracket. So what we do is, first thing we do is we get a couple of nuts that are going to fit these studs, excuse me. And we'll put this up in place like so. Get threaded through here. Here we go. Okay, when I put that airbag up, I noticed that parking brake cable came real close to it. There's another step. Take off this little plastic clamp that goes around your axle tube, supports that brake line, and we got a relocation device here. We're going to put this on. Okay, so you bolt on the relocation tab, came in the kit. This is where the brake tube support is and the parking brake cable support. You get a bolt and a nut, stick that through there. And of course this is a nylock nut. So you put this all back together and it's not going to come apart. That gives us clearance for the bags and bolts and everything we need here. I can push this up a little bit and that'll move this cable out of our way. Okay, so now I'll go ahead and put the other bag in, and when we come back we'll start doing some plumbing and we'll make a bracket, hook our airlines where we put the air in. Right now,
winners rely on ARP.
Hey, this is Fast Jack Beckman, and when you're driving a 10,000 horsepower nitromethane car, you can't afford to take chances. That's why Don Schumacher Racing uses nothing but ARP products.
We use nothing but the best that keeps us right and tight. That's ARP.
You can have zero failure with your engine, and that's why we depend on ARP fasteners. I always have all my career, all my championships. I rely on ARP for one reason: they are the best.
You know, here at Sam's Garage, we choose the Easy Run engine test stand to run all our engines before we put them in a vehicle. It's fully complete, it's all made out of steel, powder coated, made in America, by the way. Has a full dashboard with a tachometer and all the gauges, radiator, fuel tank, battery box, all kinds of accessories. Super universal, imported domestic, engines bolt on it really easily, rolls around the shop well. It's a high quality product, Easy Run engine test stand.
Sam's Garage, presented by ARP, is brought to you by LMC Truck. Restore, maintain, customize, parts and accessories for Chevy, GMC, Ford, and Dodge trucks and SUVs. The Hedman Performance Group. Hedman Hedders, Transdapt and Hamburgers Performance. Quality automotive products since 1954. ARP, proudly made in the USA. The world leader in fastener technology.
Okay, continuing on with our airbag installation, let me get a drop light here and show you a couple things. On this side, the passenger side, of course, you got this little resonator in the exhaust system. So this is where the heat shield goes. It's not gonna be real hot back here, but it's a great little protective measure to take care of the bag. Now this bracket up here is the stabilizer bracket. And you remember we had short studs and long studs. The long studs go on the inside to accommodate this bracket. The critical thing is it's flat against the frame. That stabilizes the top of the airbag. You want to make sure that you have that up there. That way this thing won't rock. Now I'm going to pull these up a little bit. bags are all installed, and again, double check, make sure everything's clear. Now we're down to the airlines. These are pretty simple. You got these little valves. They're gonna mount in the back where we can add air to the system, just like on a tire valve. Now, this tubing is very, very tough. You get plenty of it with the kit. The real trick is cut it square, and it's gonna plug into these things. That goes in and locks. That's it. If you need to take it apart, you pull a little sleeve back here, and it'll come back out. But cutting it square. Now they give you two pieces. This is like a little stress relief or strain relief. We have the same fittings in the airbag. I'm gonna put this in the top of this airbag, run it to the back and cut it. Then I'll go to this airbag. I'm gonna go up over the heat shield, make sure it's good and clear, and then we'll terminate them at the end. Okay, following the instructions, it tells you to drill a hole in your bumper or in the rear of a lance or someplace. Brand new truck, I don't wanna do that. So what I do, I've got the trailer hitch right here. It's a pretty thick wall, so I shot a couple of holes in it, and I used a 1/4-20 tap. Now the tap drill size is a number 7 number drill. Get as close to that as possible. And I'm just basically chasing these threads out right now. And that'll take a 1/4-20 bolt. I'll make a little bracket, and then we'll go ahead and shoot a couple holes in it on the drill press, and then we can run our little air lines in there. All right, made this little bracket. I'm gonna take it off and paint it. I'll put some coating on it. Now, this is from the driver's side airbag, so obviously I'll put it in the driver's side fitting. Again, cut it nice and square. And then this is, of course, from the other side. Then I'll go back, and they give you a bunch of nice tie wraps in the kit, you know, nylon tie wraps. Push that in, and I'll tie all this up nice and neat, rubbing nothing. We'll put the wheels on it, we'll set it down, and we'll air it up, see what it looks like. All right, got the wheel on. Don't forget, these are alloy wheels. Torque them with a torque wrench. Double check everything, and I've got my 2 little air valves right here. Let's put a little air in and see what happens. Whoa, a little bit at a time on both sides, so we'll raise it evenly. Again, they want you to keep somewhere between 5 and 10 PSI in the bags. Well, this is gonna make a difference in towing. Don't exceed 55 PSI is what it says in the directions. And I'm about 45 there. Let's check the other one. You wanna have them aired up equally. I need to put a little bit more in here. And again, when you're empty, let the air out so you don't beat yourself up in the ride. As you put a trailer on here, this is really gonna make a big difference in my truck. That's the only complaint I've had. I put tongue weight on there, the back would settle down. Now I got it fixed. So I'll go ahead and take this bracket off, put a nice little coating on it so it doesn't rust, but my air system is in. We're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, I'm gonna show you another little vehicle, so stick around.
Winners rely on ARP.
Hey, this is Fast Jack Beckman, and when you're driving a 10,000 horsepower nitromethane car, you can't afford to take chances. That's why Don Schumacher Racing uses nothing but ARP products.
And we use nothing but the best that keeps us right and tight. That's ARP.
You can have 0 failure with your engine, and that's why we depend on ARP fasteners. I always have all my career, all my championships. I rely on ARP for one reason: they are the best.
You know, here at Sam's Garage, we choose the Easy Run engine test stand to run all our engines before we put them in a vehicle. It's fully complete, it's all made out of steel, powder coated, made in America, by the way. Has a full dashboard with a tachometer and all the gauges, radiator, fuel tank, battery box, all kinds of accessories. Super universal, imported domestic, engines bolt on it really easily, rolls around the shop well. It's a high quality product, Easy Run engine test stand. This is my favorite time of the day. The UPS truck just arrived with my Hedman Hedders. Boy, are these pretty. But they make headers. Hedman's been making headers here in America for a long time. Look at these nice thick flanges, all welded, nice tubes, great collectors. Of course, these are coated. And when you have headers like this with a thick flange and you take the time to bolt them on right, you're not gonna have problems with your gaskets. Another thing I like is, you know, since day one, collector gaskets blow out. Hedman uses these nice flares to the bell on this. No gasket, you torque them down, they're not gonna leak. So you're not gonna spend a lot of time changing the header gaskets. And you guys who know cars can tell by this flange, this is a small block Ford. So here's the method in my madness. The 5-liter Ford project engine we're building is for me. It's gonna be about a 300 horsepower, mild street motor, great headers for it, going in this. When I say for me, it's for my wife, Diana. This is her 66 Falcon station wagon. You don't see many of these around. It's a pretty good sized car. We got it, this has been around for a while. It's got a 289 high performance small block in it, 5-speed Tremec, and of course it's got disc brakes and stuff. Needs a little bit of work. As you can see, this engine's tired. That 5-liter is going to go right in here. But I've already done some things to it. Let me put this up in the air and show you exactly what I've done underneath. This car is 50 years old, pretty solid old car. And this is where obviously the oil pan hangs down. You can see the brake rotors on the disc brakes. Steering linkage is all good. Steering's pretty tight. I am going to make it power steering because it's not right now. It would just make it a lot easier to drive. You can see this is a pretty solid old car. I've checked all the steering linkage. Everything here is good. Here's the 5-speed gearbox. Now here's the original downpipes. And of course, that was a Y pipe originally. I cut it, and I made new tailpipes from here, exhaust pipes from here. This is where, when I fit the Hedman headers in, I'll know what I need to do there once the headers are bolted in. And you can see I replaced all the steel tubing in this car. This is the fuel line, goes from the tank to the pump. I had to splice it there and make a 2-piecer. And then of course I put all new steel brake line going in. In the rear, got a nice exhaust system with double chamber mufflers, new shocks. I did the rear brakes, and what I did was, of course, I put in wheel cylinders and shoes, new drums, and then I even replaced the steel tube and even the brake hydraulic flex line, which was pretty tough to come up with for this car. They don't make a lot for wagons. And the exhaust pipes come back, and you can see my pride and joy here. The fuel tank was a big fat fuel tank on this car. It was rusty. This is a nice custom aluminum tank my buddy Brian Fuller welded up for me. Now I got plenty of room to clear everything. The big tank, the original tank, was so wide, either rattled against the pipes, rattled against the tank, or the springs. So this is a big difference, made everything nice. So this car is ready to go. I fit my Hedman headers, and then I know they're going to work when I put in this 5-liter. It's going to be a neat little car.
Winners rely on ARP.
Hey, this is Fast Jack Beckman, and when you're driving a 10,000 horsepower nitromethane car, you can't afford to take chances. That's why Don Schumacher Racing uses nothing but ARP products.
When we use nothing but the best that keeps us right and tight, that's ARP.
You can have zero failure with your engine, and that's why we depend on ARP fasteners. I always have all my career, all my championships. I rely on ARP for one reason: they are the best.
You know, here at Sam's Garage, we choose the Easy Run engine test stand to run all our engines before we put them in a vehicle. It's fully complete, all made out of steel, powder coated, made in America, by the way. Has a full dashboard with a tachometer and all the gauges, radiator, fuel tank, battery box, all kinds of accessories. Super universal, imported domestic, engines bolt on it really easily, rolls around the shop well. It's a high quality product, Easy Run engine test stand.
Sam's Garage, presented by ARP, is brought to you by Advertising Edge, the official uniform of the NHRA. Mickey Thompson Tires. Be a part of the legend. The Hedman Performance Group. Hedman Hedders. Transdapt and Hamburgers Performance. Quality automotive products since 1954. By ARP, proudly made in the USA, the world leader in fastener technology.
You know, there are a lot of diesels on the road, and the diesel market is growing. If you got a diesel truck, everybody wants to borrow it because it hauls. I'm moving, I need to borrow your truck. I got to tow a trailer, I need to borrow your truck. Well, if you lend someone your truck, they're your friends. You know, there's somebody you know, they're going to want to do you a favor. So what they do is they go ahead and they put fuel in it for you. If they fuel it up with gasoline, people are distracted. Got their smartphones, they got their Apple Watch, whatever. They put the wrong fuel in, you got some serious engine damage. Here's a neat little product. This is called Miss Fuel Alert. They come in green and black, I like the green one. It says diesel only. When you open the filler, it flashes a light, it has an audible beep, it chirps at you, and it says diesel only. If you put gasoline in the diesel engine and you drive it, you're destroying the engine thousands and thousands of dollars. If you're smart enough not to start it, but you've misfueled it, you still gotta have a tow, a tank drop, filters, the whole thing. Misfuel alert, made in America, is developed in Texas, got a 5-year battery life. You pull it out of the package, you stick it on the inside of your filler door. When you close it, it's got a light sensor and it resets in about 10 seconds. When you open the door, it flashes at you and chirps for you. It's a great way to go. You can check out their website for more information. It could save you a ton of money. Continuing on with our 5-liter Ford motor, getting ready to put our front cover on. These are alignment dowels. They stabilize the gasket in the front cover. Got a brand new front cover from Ford here. And you can see right here, that's where the dowels go, and they help to hold the gasket on. The engine block came back from the machine shop where they did all the work. The dowels were gone. That happens sometimes, so pay attention to detail. I went out to Ford and bought a couple of new ones. Now it's time for some gaskets. We chose SCE. They make great gaskets. They sent us complete engine kit. And of course, we need to figure out exactly, there we go. And you see the dowel stabilizes the gasket like that. And then of course, your front cover. I also, out of the SCE kit, I took the front seal. When you put the seals in, don't beat it to death with a hammer. Get a seal driver so you don't damage the seal. You get it distorted and then the leak around the front harmonic balancer. Get this cover up there, get it in place. There we go, like that. Now, you guys that work on Ford, you know there's a multitude of bolts on the front cover. What holds it on? It takes forever to figure it out. We got these nice ARP stainless steel bolts. So I'm gonna go ahead and, I've got some of them figured out already, some I don't, so I'll go ahead and put these bolts on and we'll get it all together. I've got most of my bolts on. I got the water pump on. Now, I need a couple more. I don't have, with all of the bolts that come in that ARP kit, which is great, you get a lot of extras, but you also get a little slip here. It says, they're aware of the variances on most Ford applications. They can't give it to you all, so they give you a number to call, 800. They'll supply you what you need. It's a great way to go, good customer service. Front cover's on, all bolted up. This thing's starting to look more and more like an engine. Now, got the pan gasket on. These are real high quality gaskets. You have rubber seals that go in the front. What you have to remember is, if you haven't done these, there's a little tab that plugs into a slot on the rubber seal. And in those corners, just a dab of RTV silicone. And you put that on, the same thing, all 4 corners. That'll prevent you from having a leak. Make sure you line up all your holes. Now the pan bolts, all of these bolts are the same size except for the 4 corners, they're a little larger. Oil pump's on, and again, there's a gasket between the body of the pump and the block, and then where the oil pump pickup goes on to the oil pump. Make sure you have the right gaskets, you got them good and tight. Any air leaks here, it'll pull air and it won't pull oil, you won't have any oil pressure. Now, this is going in, this is a 92 motor, but it's going in an early car with a front sump. I'm not a fan of chrome oil pans, but that's the only one I could get locally. So I'm not gonna glue it down because I'm still looking for a black metal pan. But I can put the pan on, put some of the bolts in, and then of course, once I put the harmonic balancer on, which I'm gonna show you how to do without hammering it on and hurting your thrust bearings. Got the bottom of the engine bolted up, all covered up, gonna keep the dirt out of it. Next thing we need is a good set of cylinder heads. I'm looking for about 9 to 9.5 to 1 compression, the most. So I need some 180 intake runners, 194 intake valves, 160 exhaust. I'm searching for some heads and we'll continue on with our Ford engine. Hope you learned something today. Hope you had a good time. We'll see you next time here at Sam's Garage.